Hello survivors, hi family and friends, this is Roy from Bootsy Sweetheart's Guide to Life and Other Disappointing Experiences, with a disappointing experience that will have a happy ending. What do you do when one of your favorite pair of jeans has outlived its usefulness and is getting tattered? Well, I'll show you what I'm doing. I'm going to make a grunge handbag and give it new life. Stay with me. Thanks. Now, denim jeans handbags are not a new thing, but they're very popular. And they can be really elegant, or they can be boho, hobo, and they can be grunge. And I have a couple of pairs of black jeans that are time to recycle and give them a new life. So this will be part one of probably a two-part project, making a grunge handbag out of an old pair of jeans. The jeans were originally, the bag was originally the full width of the slacks, but because I'm a kind of a big boy, the bag was too big. So let me show you what I did. I disassembled the entire thing, took out all the lining, took out the zipper, everything, and started from scratch. So there were some old decorations on it already, and now let's see how I handled the rest of it. This is really the fun part. First thing you do, of course, is wash the jeans. Then you cut the legs off at the bottom of the zipper. Then what I did was, because the bag was so big, I decided to cut it down the middle, which made two incongruous sides, so they're not the same size. The back panel is bigger than the front panel, so I'll have to adjust that in a bit. We'll square it up and it'll be fine. So I wind up with two pieces, so I have two bags instead of one. And then I decided I would do some embroidery on the pocket. Wow, I have to tell you, going through this heavy, thick denim with a needle and thread is very, very difficult. But I've done it before a lot, so I'm used to it. And sometimes I use a instrument like my 1960s hemostat to help. They have little pads that you can buy that grip the needle as well. But this is fun for me. I love the hand sewing. It takes time, but in the end I think it pays off. So this was one of the things I decided to do. I like the idea of the blue on the black. And here again I need the hemostat. This is not embroidery floss. This is more like the craft floss you buy to make friendship bracelets and items like that. Then I found in my stash these small string beads, all plastic. You don't have to go out and spend a fortune for glass beads when you're making a grunge bag. These actually hold up very well. You can apply them with a sewing machine on thinner fabric. I was going to give it a try, but I'm borrowing a machine and I don't want to take a chance of breaking a needle, breaking the machine. The machine would struggle through this thickness of fabric, and you just sort of saddle each bead with a very simple stitch, and you keep going and keep going. They don't unravel because they're fastened together, but I thought it might add just a nice little touch to it. You do have to square the bag up. What I mean is make it into a rectangle when you're done, just for the sake of putting in a lining. You don't have to be exact. The best part about this kind of a project is there's no pattern. You know, you can do what you want. and let it go at that. Now I'm making a little beaded star here. If I were doing this for a more elegant bag, I would draw my dots, but I want this to look kind of haphazard, and it's just simple star, couple of crosses, 2 X's, and then I'll attach a little bead. Really simple. And I'm going through 1 layer of fabric, so it's much easier. Try to avoid the, the heavy seams and the reinforced pocket pieces. Very simple. This was fun. Go into my little bead stash. I have so many beads. Oh my goodness. I have to stop going to the thrift store. These are pretty seed beads. I know they come in sizes. I don't know what size this is. I'm just glad it fits through the needle. So if you see on the background there, I've put a couple of these stars. I think they're just cute and add some dimension and texture to it. Excuse me. And they're pretty. Now I'm not going to show you how I tie it in the back because my gorilla hands are having difficulty here. And I'll just get back later on and tighten that, tie it correctly. What I'm also going to do is put a dot, really just a little dot of glue on each knot in the back so that there's absolutely no chance of these knots coming undone, because the bag is going to get a heavy use, as you can imagine. So there we go. Cute little embellishment. Bling, bling, bling. I show it to you close up here. Really pretty. And it's nothing, I mean, but it just adds, when you put them together, it adds a lot. Now I decided to add buttons. And so I have a stash of buttons, a gazillion buttons. I figured I'd put some black buttons on, all different sizes. Again, it'll go through single layers of fabric, so it won't be too hard. Now, it's Bootsy Sweetheart's doing this, and it wouldn't be a video of mine unless I showed you one of the mistakes. And here it goes. When you're doing something like this, always check the other side of the fabric. Because if you notice, where the button is really over a pocket. Or at least part of a pocket. It doesn't look like it is on the very edge, but it is. And here we notice, uh-oh, I've sewn through the pocket. Now that's not a big deal because it turns out that the needle went through the, if you notice that it went through the seam allowance of the pocket, but I didn't want to keep going with that. That's added thickness, and why be bothered with that, hurting my fingers even more. Just tried to unsuccessfully back the thread up and back the needle through, rather than pull the thread out of the needle and try to re-thread it. The needle is very small and the thread is very thick, so it takes a little while with these old eyes to thread the needle. Anyway, in the end I cut the fabric just a teeny bit. It's just off by 2 or 3 threads, and it'll make it easier for me. It really would have been easier to unthread the needle. Do as I say, not as I do. Now I'm smart enough, I'm going to leave that pocket folded over back so I don't catch it. So again, I add a bunch of buttons. Um, I was going to put different color buttons, but I want this to be kind of somber, kind of goth in a way. And, you know, on these kinds of things, more is more. So it's good to have a bunch of buttons. The more decorations you put on it, sometimes the better. I've seen some really ornately embellished bags with scarves and belts and buckles and all kinds of hardware. This is a little simpler. Oh, and here we are. We'll make a double knot on the back, and I'll come back before I put the lining in and see that there's a dot of glue on all of those knots. So there we are so far. Buttons and little stars and beads. Then, of course, never leave anything alone. Let's add some thread, little tiny tassel thread to each button. It's fun to have things hanging down and a little bit of movement on the bag. And it's simple section of that same yarn that I had, but I have it in a variegated white-black. That seemed to fit the theme of the button. I'm wondering now how it would have looked if I had done it in blue. Well, I have another half of pant to make another one, so I might try that. You can see up in the corner there I have another button that I've already put the black portion of the thread on. I liked the way it looked. It turned out nicer than I thought. Now what I do, of course, is I even out the thread ends so that they're not uneven. And I didn't measure, of course. Every grunge bag has a message of some kind. So I chose a couple of words, and here I'm embroidering using one of the built-in embroidery alphabets on my borrowed machine to write the word respect on the jeans. Very simple with one layer of denim. I would not try this probably with 2 layers. Look at how nice this turned out. Now, it's not a whole bunch of alphabet pieces, selections, so I was lucky to find this. I have also freedom and peace, another equality. So I'm liking the way it's turning out. Again, I'll square it up. At this point, I think I want to wait and see what else to put on here. It's missing something. I'm not sure what it is. Of course, it'll get a belt. Now it measures, I think, 10 by 11. Let's see if that's true. Yeah. And I'll make another video showing you how I do the lining and sew this up and finish it up. I'll probably add some more things to this as well. So thank you very much for watching the video. Please comment if you have any suggestions to add to it. I don't have any of the old buttons of peace and protest buttons, but I used to have a whole collection. Again, thank you, and I hope you enjoyed this kind of different video for me. And as Nancy D. Zeman would say, bye for now.